Hi, and welcome back to Northern Maple, where we discover the unfiltered truths of Canada's past, present, and future from coast to coast, breaking their silence. On today's episode, we are going to go and do a deep dive in both the Conservative and the Liberal platforms. But first, let's recap the last 10 years of Canada. Picture a freshly minted postdoc liberal arts grad, let's say a gender studies major, master's, and PhD who, with starry-eyed optimism, chased a fun degree, racked up a mountain of debt, and then, at graduation, they/them had an epiphany. 8 years of study yielded no markable skills, just a hefty loan and a pressing need for an escape plan. Fast forward to 2 months or 2 years down the road, and that poor kid is in the storage room crying at work.
Helping their workers, they refuse to turn mobile orders off. We need the liberty to be able to do that because there's so many mobile orders and I need to get through all of them, and then people are yelling at me because I don't have their orders ready and they don't know what to do.
That's what Canada just went through. Our nation has made zero progress in the last decade, and we are all crying about how terrible our economy is. In all seriousness, though, let's take a deeper look into the state of Canada. A nation's progress can be evaluated based on the following 3 factors. First, GDP per capita. It measures the average economic well-being, accounting for the cost of living difference. It reflects living standards and productivity better than the GDP, especially in a country with a rapid population growth like ours. Second, Human Development Index, or HDI. It combines life expectancy, education, so literacy and schooling, and per capita income to assess health, knowledge, and living standards. It essentially captures the non-economic aspect of progress. And third, income inequality, the Gini coefficient. This is a statistical measure of the income inequality within a population, 0 being perfectly equal and 1 being perfectly unequal. Well, Canada's GDP per capita has grown so minimally over the last 10 years that its growth is negligible. Our population growth has outpaced GDP growth, triggering a decline in our living standards. We rank 6th among the G7 nations, and our unemployment rate is rising. Yes, our unemployment rate did rise in March due to the US tariff situation. However, if we had a robust GDP, we would have had a thriving job market to make up the difference. Next, our HDI. Canada's HDI remained good, but that's not to be mistaken for great, as we ranked 18th globally in 2022, and our functional literacy, meaning our ability to read complex documents and provide a critical analysis of it, have stagnated and remain below 50%, which harms our nation's ability to adapt to the ever-changing economic and technological landscapes that we're faced with. Our healthcare system, ranking 10th out of 11th in the 2021 Commonwealth Fund, lags due to a lack of access and wait times. According to a 2023 Our Care survey, 6.5 million Canadians do not have a family doctor or nurse practitioner, a significant increase from the 4.5 million in 2019. We all know that our health system is not performing well, but it hasn't for quite some time. And now for our income inequality. This has remained stable since 2015, and we do have one of the lowest Gini coefficients among the G7 nations. However, stable isn't progress at all. It's quite the opposite. Since 2015, the government has spent nearly $2 trillion, 2 trillion taxpayer dollars, on social programs and initiated at least 10 new programs since 2015. Child care benefits, CERB, $10 a day childcare, Canadian dental plan, just to name a few. Yet our income inequality hasn't improved at all. If the purpose of social programs is to provide financial material or service-based support to individuals and families to improve their well-being, reduce poverty, promote equity, and address unemployment, shouldn't we see an improvement in the income inequality? especially with the addition of even more social programs and a near doubling of the annual funding of these programs. Yet we see complete stagnation here in Canada. Why is that? Is it perhaps possible that the more social programs you offer a population, the more dependent that population becomes on the government, which in turn will just make the problem worse? Now, don't get me wrong. A nation does need social programs to provide support to our elderly, to our veterans, to our families. But there is clearly such a thing as too many social programs, and I think it's safe to say Canada has reached that number. Based on the three factors, I can say with full confidence the last 10 years under the Trudeau government will forever be known as the lost decade. Now, let's move on to the purpose of today's episode, Liberal versus Conservative platforms. The Liberal cost plan is 3 pages, only including an itemized table of revenue and spending, while the Conservative Party's includes a similar 3-page table, along with 27 pages of a brief description of how they want to achieve their goals. So we have one party providing minimal information, while the other is being transparent with their goals. I mean, this is already off to a good start for comparison. Okay, let's go over a quick summary of their platforms now based off of their websites. Economic policy and taxes. The typical scenario of the Liberals wanting to spend more and the Conservatives wanting to spend less. The Liberals will increase our deficit more than the Conservatives. That's obvious. Both parties pledge to tax cuts, but honestly, neither of their proposals is actually meaningful when the cost of living has increased substantially more than the $900 per person per year we'll receive. I would like to see income tax go down significantly for all tax brackets. Death by taxes is a real thing, and we're living it here in Canada. Now for housing, the Liberals want to build 500,000 homes per year, eliminate GST for first-time buyers of homes under $1 million, and expand renter protection, while the Conservatives want to build 2.3 million homes in 5 years through the sale of federal lands and regulatory cuts. They will remove the GST on new homes of under $1.3 million. If elected, do you think the Liberals will give the housing contract to, I don't know, Brookfield Asset Management perhaps? The Conservatives, however, are staying true to their commitment of decreasing the size of the government by selling federal lands and removing the housing red tape to boost the construction of new homes. Both are removing the GST of some homes. However, more people are going to benefit from the Conservatives' approach because they're not limiting it to first-time home buyers like the Liberals are. As for healthcare, both parties will preserve childcare, pharmacare, and dental care. The Liberals do want to add more social programs, including IVF, which in theory would help grow our population and give hope to couples struggling with infertility. The Conservatives want to add 15,000 more doctors through the Blue Seal program, which is going to streamline the credential process for foreign doctors. They also pledge to fund an addiction recovery of $250 million per year by suing opioid manufacturers. The Conservatives are clearly not cutting social programs that Canadians are benefiting from. I just don't see a father of a non-verbal child cutting social programs that his child very may well need in the future when he and his wife have passed. It also contradicts the Conservative platform. As for social programs, the Liberals once again claiming to expand First Nation support and promised clean drinking water for the second time. In 2015, Trudeau promised to end all long-term boil water advisories on First Nation reserves within 5 years, so by March of 2021. While it's 2025 now, and there are still 31 long-term advisories still in place across 29 communities, so personally, I have zero faith that the Liberal government is going to keep their word a second time. The Conservatives want to introduce a tax-free adoption credit of $10,000 and cut foreign aid to nations under dictatorships to fund domestic properties instead, like our healthcare system. As for the environment, the Liberals will continue with their net zero agenda and tax Canadians into poverty, while the Conservatives will be eliminating the carbon tax, and not just pausing the collection of it like Carney did when he pretended to sign an executive order mirroring Trump. They will also promote responsible gas exports and support nuclear and hydro for emission reduction, but prioritizing economic growth. Very important here. Now for defense strategy and sovereignty, both parties want to improve our Arctic security. Fiscal strategy, the Liberals want to rely on capital investments and private sector growth for revenue, which is not a guaranteed revenue stream. As for the Conservatives, they're going to cut spending, like defunding the CBC and foreign aid, and generate revenue from growth and tariffs. Workforce and education. Once again, the Liberals are pushing their green agenda, and it's dominating all their policies. I guess if you want to support the government, you must be on the green train. Never mind our need for skilled professions that will help grow, protect, and maintain our nation. It's green all the way. The Liberals are focused solely on their green initiatives, regardless of the cost to Canadians. As mentioned previously, the Conservatives want to streamline skilled tradesmen and doctors to help speed up the certification process of foreigners so that they can start working in Canada sooner rather than later. Now for their key priorities. The Liberals will focus on climate action, economic resilience, healthcare access, and housing affordability, while the Conservatives will focus on tax relief, housing supply, energy exports, defense strength, and spending cuts. Now, for my thoughts on the two platforms, well, you're going to have to watch my next video because we're running out of time on this one. So I'll see you then. Bye.